What about these providers that are eligible in, let's say, Texas, but they can actually go across states and start they have no business in, say, North Carolina? How can they especially at this point in time and the way the economy is for providers from other states to come into my home state and take business away from the people, the hard working people that's had a relationship, and I think that's the most important thing to remember, is a relationship with these patients. How is that? Why is that possible? I mean, that doesn't seem like that doesn't make good business sense in these economic times.
Sure. What I would say is that in the Medicare program now, competitive bidding aside, and for the last 40, almost 50 years of existence of the program, we have not had restrictions on businesses going into new areas and expanding. Many businesses do that all the time, whether there's a competitive bidding program or not. They expand, go into new areas, and try to provide services to customers. So we do see that as something that has naturally occurred. That said, we understand that was a concern in the first round of bidding last year. We did hear that quite a bit, and hear some concerns about suppliers that were either new to an area, had no experience in an area, or new to a particular product category. Maybe they never provided oxygen before, let alone provided oxygen in Chattanooga.
And that's probably one of the biggest problems that we would have is providers coming in that's never had, not even educated in the field.
Right, and so I think a few things that the program does now.
So was that change has been addressed?
A few things. Well, I will say that it's been addressed in some ways, and let me just say that we do have accreditation requirements. There are higher level accreditation requirements and quality requirements on oxygen suppliers, so they do have to meet a set of standards. We do ensure that all suppliers that participate in the competitive bidding program meet financial standards as well, so they have the wherewithal to provide services on a consistent basis to beneficiaries. But we do not at this time have restrictions on movement. We want to make sure that they have licenses in the appropriate states and in the appropriate areas to provide those services. We'll do that. But at this time, we don't have a policy that prevents that type of natural business expansion into a new area or new product category.
I think that gets back to my point. When you look at the financial wherewithal, that starts to really make it more difficult on small businesses, what I would consider the mom and pop shops that have been, so helpful in our communities. I mean, I have a close friend of mine that they do services that goes far and beyond what they don't even get paid for. It's just because of their relationship with their patient that they have had and conducted, and they feel a moral obligation to be able to provide for these people. And so it's going to be very difficult for small businesses to engage, and if they don't have the financial wherewithal, especially during struggling times and more difficult. And obviously I know that we have to make sure that the businesses are structured properly and they do have the financial wherewithal so they stay in business so they can provide a service. But I think can you educate me on what financial wherewithal would be? Is it is it $1 million net worth? Is it $500,000 net worth in company value? Or
we rely on a set of financial standards that look at things like credit reports, look at past tax records, make sure that they have appropriate cash flow and resources in order to sustain a business. And I think you raised some very good points, sir. One of the things I would say, about local businesses is we did see a number of businesses that won bids in new areas. One of the things they did to provide those services was subcontract with local suppliers. So maybe those local suppliers didn't win under competitive bidding, but they were allowed to participate in the program through subcontracting arrangements. So I think that's a good thing. The other thing that we saw is that many suppliers and many patients made use of a provision in the law which allows certain suppliers to grandfather. So maybe you're a patient in a certain area and you have a relationship with a supplier. That supplier did not win under competitive bidding. You can choose to maintain that relationship for for a service like oxygen, for example, regardless of whether or not that supplier won. So we did see those types of things occur, which sort of allowed the transition to the new program to be seamless and allowed suppliers to sort of maintain that local relationship with a patient.
I think that's going to be the extreme. I think, when someone wins a bid, they're going to walk in and say, I'm your new provider. You can't, they're going to walk the walk and they're going to talk the talk about how well they're doing in their business, and now I'm going to be your new provider. I doubt very frankly that the patients are going to know that this grandfathered clause is actually in effect. I don't think that's, there's not enough marketing dollars that's being spent to know that you can be grandfathered in. And when that happens, it'd be great, because I think a lot of our small businesses obviously would stay in business, but if you're only grandfathering in 20% of your overall business, you're probably not going to stay in business.
In response, sir, what I would say is that when we implemented the program in 2008, as you said, we did see a lot of the new suppliers, the winning suppliers, were aggressive in terms of trying to get patients, trying to get business. That's why they bid. That's why they bid and tried to win. But we also did see, and we checked, because one of the key things that we wanted to do as part of our monitoring program was to make sure that oxygen patients continued to get oxygen, because it's not like a hospital bed where if a patient needs a hospital bed, maybe they can wait a day or an hour, but oxygen you need about every few seconds. And we did check; many did grandfather because they did want to keep that relationship with the patients at least for a while. And I think that was important for patients and important for those suppliers. But I do understand the issue and the concern. Thank you.